What's going on, everybody? My name is Justin Gotzi for theathleteinquirer.com. Thank you so much for checking out today's MLB video. Yes, I have not made a lot of MLB videos over the course of the past 2 months, and I'm very sorry for not doing that. I was planning on doing a lot of MLB team previews, stuff that we did, just a couple of years ago, but that's something that we're probably going to pick up next year. So we're getting some more MLB content. We got a lot of the trade deadline stuff coming up, but let's get right in and talk about the trade that went down just a couple of minutes ago between the Seattle Mariners and the Arizona Diamondbacks. It's a huge 6-player deal which features none other than Mark Trumbo and left-handed pitcher Vidal Nuno, who I'm personally a huge fan of. I wish that he was still in Arizona because I do live in Arizona. I do enjoy watching him pitch in his games. They have been traded to the Seattle Mariners in exchange for a nice package of player, player and a couple of prospects. So let's get right into the exact details on who's going where. Like I said, we got Mark Trumbo going over to the Seattle Mariners, Vidal Nuno as well. But coming over to the Arizona Diamondbacks, we got catcher Welington Castillo, right-handed pitcher Dominic Leone, infielder Jake Reinheimer, and outfielder Gabby Guerrero. Now this, I'm mainly going to be talking about the 3 star players in this deal, which is Castillo coming over to the Diamondbacks, Trumbo, and Vidal Nuno. Now let's talk about Welington Castillo. Now I've ultimately had during the offseason, when we were doing the Sports Nexus, we were talking about, what about a potential trade with, the Chicago Cubs and the Arizona Diamondbacks involving catchers. The Chicago Cubs are a hot commodity on acquiring veteran catchers, like they have David Ross right now. They do have a couple of guys coming out through their system. Welington Castillo was just recently traded away from the Chicago Cubs, going over to the Seattle Mariners. Welington Castillo has mainly been the team's number 3 catcher all season. So there is no way, and there's no reason for him to be, just a bench piece. Send him out to a team that can use him, and that's what they did. That's why they traded him over to the Seattle Mariners. Now I've always felt, like I said in the beginning of this video, that I felt that the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Chicago Cubs could have made a deal involving Miguel Montero and as well as Welington Castillo, and just flip-flop catchers. But, as of late, the Arizona Diamondbacks ran into some trouble at their catcher's position. I know they just called up Gerald Saltalamacchia, but also Tuffy Gozwich went down with an ACL injury. There's a lot of people who are saying, is he going to be back within the next couple of months? Is it a completely, torn ACL or UCL? I know it's either or, but needless to say, their catcher, having Tuffy Gozwich, a career backup, nothing, has really gone his way in his MLB career. I know at one point he was a Philadelphia Philly, but then again he has just been a career-long minor league catcher, really not getting that ultimate chance, and he's not a guy you want to depend on, when it comes to big game situations, clutch at bats or anything like that. Is he a good defensive and play caller? Yes, I'll give him that. But needless to say, that can only go so much in a game like this. But ultimately, Tuffy Gozwich he's not a terrible bench piece, but he's just not that prolific guy you want to count on if you have runners in scoring position. Then you really need that power bat. So Welington Castillo is going to be that guy for the Diamondbacks. Now, is he coming over to be the instant starter for the Arizona Diamondbacks? Absolutely. I think that he's a much bigger improvement over Gerald Saltalamacchia. Salty has had his fair share of disappointments in his time with Miami, signing a nice lucrative deal with the Marlins. They ended up DFAing him just a couple of months ago, and ultimately he just he was released by the squad. The Arizona Diamondbacks picked him up, and he only played a couple of games at Reno Aces, and now he's back up with the opportunity to take him Tuffy Gozwich's spot. And with that being said, Welington Castillo is there, and you're going to go with the best player, and that is going to be Welington over Gerald Saltalamacchia. So let's get right into Trumbo and Vidal Nuno. Now this is an interesting concept here, because I am a huge fan of both players. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of of Trumbo and of Vidal Nuno. Vidal Nuno is a guy who I wanted him to get at least number 4 spot in the Diamondbacks lineup. Ultimately last year he had a really good season, but the wins didn't go his way. I think he won like 2 or 3 games. He lost double digits in losses last year, so it wasn't really a most entertaining year for him. But his outings were great; they were solid, and I thought that he could have had an excellent career in Arizona. He's going to end up going over to Seattle Mariners. a very struggling squad. This is a team that everybody's saying, oh, they're going to the World Series. They're going to go to the World Series. This is their year. I don't think so. They did pick up Nelson Cruz, who's having a fantastic year. Robinson Cano was there. The team is good and built for the future. They have an excellent team around them. Right now, it's just not their opportunity. There's still a lot of, building that needs to be going around this team, like a farm system needs to be going in. They need to enhance their pitching rotation a lot, outside of King Felix. Guys like, Taiwan Walker is good. Elias J. Happ is in there. Mike Montgomery is in there. There needs to be more, elusiveness, more, down the stretch. You need some more, better performing players, and I just think that's where they really need to develop more, and that's into the rotation. But now you're getting Vidal Nuno, who I think can ultimately be that solid number 5 guy. I don't think he's gonna go up the rotation and end up taking the spot of like Elias or a J Happ. But at number 5, you know what you're getting out of him. He's a guy who can hit 93, 94 on the radar gun with his fastball. He's an excellent pitcher. It's a good addition to the Seattle Mariners. I don't know if he's going to be sent down to AAA Tacoma or not. We'll just figure that out within the next day or so. Vidal Nuno is a great acquirement. But when it comes over to Mark Trumbo, very exciting time. I think this is a big addition for the Seattle Mariners. I think that they really needed a much dominating, a much more of a power bat, a designated hitter. I think that's where he's ultimately going to end up being played at. He can also be played at first base. I think Logan Morrison is just that better of a player. But it's the outfield is already set in stone right now. You got Dustin Ackley, Austin Jackson, and Nelson Cruz, and then you have Seth Smith, who's the backup. Justin Ruggiano is also a backup in the outfield. So unless you want to legitimately put Trumbo at AAA and look for an opening down the line, and you're okay with what you have right now, they're not going to do that. But just getting a little bit of a joke with you guys, Trumbo ultimately will end up being a designated hitter coming over to Seattle, going over to the American League, returning to the American League West. Actually, the American League West, where he was originally playing with the Los Angeles Angels just a couple of years ago before being acquired by the Arizona Diamondbacks. So the winner of this deal, I have to say, it's going to end up being with the Seattle Mariners. Trumbo is still a relatively young, first baseman. He's a multi-tool player. He can multi-position. He's very flexible. He can play the outfield. He can also play, first base. So if you need, a break from Logan Morrison, you can place him over at first base. So there's always a lot of there's positive things coming over to the Seattle Mariners. Their future is going down very good, but just this season as it stands right now, it's just not going their way. So hopefully this trade will revamp everything and everything can go down the way that they want to. As for the Arizona Diamondbacks, they got Welington Castillo, a guy who I honestly thought they could have just ultimately just traded 2 catchers to get him, but it was a pretty rough patch just to get him in Arizona. But at the end of the day, they do have him in Arizona, so good addition for both squads. Prospects coming over to the Arizona Diamondbacks. So let me hear you guys' opinion about this. We got Mark Trumbo headed over to the Seattle Mariners along with Vidal Nuno. Coming over to the Arizona Diamondbacks is Welington Castillo and a couple of prospects. My name is Joseph Gotzi for the Athletic Inquirer, and I'll catch you guys in our next